having to make.
Well, I don't know. I can't say that. We got to look at the film, and just kind of find that out, But it's good for us to go through this so we can make a decision. I mean, we're gonna stress our quarterbacks. It's gonna happen, and that's good. This is the best thing we can do right now to find out, who is going to be that backup guy. Who can take care of the ball, who's got any poise at all, who can run the team when stuff gets hard. So whether we flopped around a little bit today was more so just the mentality, of coming out to compete. And whether it was up front or at quarterback or wide out or running back, and we'll watch film and we'll find that out. Sometimes it can look like that, but maybe a guy ran the wrong route, or the running back went the wrong way, or the quarterback went the wrong way. So, we'll reserve our judgment till after we watch the film.
Yeah. From that competing aspect, though, and coming out, just competing really. A little bit less than
yeah. Well, and again, we're not. DC's not out there, and and not that that's an excuse. We're going to go through a season, and some guys are going to get hurt, so guys got to step up. And when guys are young, they learn that lesson. But there's no excuse for jumping off sides. There's no excuse for snapping the ball over the quarterback's head. There's no excuse for not understanding what the signal is coming from the sideline. So, those things we got to fix. But those things are they happen with young guys. So we just gotta, keep going. And it was disappointing what happened with Patrick early. Because this was a big deal for him. But we move on, right? We're going to play with 11 guys. It just depends on which 11 they are.
Right. With the quarterbacks, you look at that poise aspect and be able to string plays together. Anybody really?
Well, shoot, I don't know how many plays we ran before we got a first down. It was quite a bit. And so. And again, we'll go back and look at the film and just see, exactly what's happening, if guys are missing reads or we're not setting the protection the right way. And, like I told them, this, we put a lot on our quarterback. We expect him to do a lot of things. We're not in the I formation running power and ISO and power pass, where the quarterback doesn't have that much on his plate. So you got to be able to do that. You got to be able to do that in this offense. And, if you can't, we got to find somebody that can.
Yeah. 9 practices in. Would you expect or hope some of that has come together a little bit better?
Well, yeah, I would. I would, especially with the guys that have been here for a year. I think, when you're not playing, you have a tendency, not to study as much as you should, or not to pay as close attention as you should, because it's not your job. But, you never know when your number's called and you got to go. And, that stuff's got to start improving. It's got to start improving. But we won't have a definitive answer on who the backup's going to be, after spring ball. It'll be sometime in fall camp. We're making some progress in the other areas, and I really like what Josh Casada's done in camp so far to this point. And, Mice has shown, he's done some nice things, but he's got to be more consistent, TJ's done a good job when he's been called upon, so, there's progress being made, but, so we'll see. We just got to keep going.
Yeah. On the bright side, that play Devontae made kind of
well, that's why he didn't. That's why he didn't play very many plays. Yeah. When you go back and look, IB and Devontae and Harp and even Austin, and Casada, and obviously DC. There's a lot of those guys. They didn't play very many plays. DC didn't play any at all. So, but we got to find out what the other guys can do, and either they show what they can or they show what they can't. It's kind of how it is.
Yeah. The guard situation obviously had some subs in and out there as well.
Yeah, we went through some deals in and out, and then Cam had to shuffle some guys around when we lost Patrick. But that happens in games. All of a sudden you're going to have to go in there and play. You're going to have to go in there and play. So you're going to have to know we're going to play our best 5. So if somebody goes down, it's not necessarily the guy that's been taking the reps, behind him all week in practice. It's the next best guy.
Right.
And so, that's how we coach it, and that's what our expectation is. And so guys got to know what to do. And, we ran into that today. So it's a good learning lesson for us as an offense and those guys up front that, hey, you might be called upon to play something else. Get in there. Nobody cares. Nobody cares if you're hurt. The guys we're playing against, they don't care that you're hurt. We got to perform at a high level.
Losing Patrick for any amount of time, how does that work into what you need to get done up front?
Well, obviously it hurts him. You know, it hurts us as an offensive line. You know, he was doing a nice job. You know, to this point in camp, just trying to absorb everything. He's a smart guy. He's a physical guy. You know, but you know, we got to move on. You know, we'll have practice on Wednesday, and you know, hope he's able to go. But if he's not, you know, someone else will be playing him, and we just keep moving. Can't worry about it. We got to go.